IGF got an illegal Airbnb in her apartment complex busted. Constant slamming doors woke up my sleeping GF. She found 4 total Airbnb listings in our small apartment complex and reported them to leasing office, and they likely lost thousands of dollars and were evicted moved out. We live in a new and small apartment complex, only 40 units within 2 buildings. It's very low-key and within walking distance to our downtown. It's very affordable for how convenient a location it is. Back in September we noticed the vacant unit beside us was getting moved into by a new tenant with furniture, decor, etc. One weekend not long after moving in we heard what sounded like a little party with music and loud voices well past midnight. We heard a lot of people coming in and out of the front door, but letting the door slam each time to where it shook the walls. Maybe they were having a housewarming party or a friends get together at the new place. So we brushed it under the rug as a one-off incident. For the next few weeks we noticed a variety of people coming in and out of this apartment and none of them seemed to be the same individuals. Parking also started to become much more busy than usual, as well as the cars kept changing. So, something seemed off. IGF started working night shift for her job not long after the neighboring apartment became occupied. She is a light sleeper and noticed that all throughout the morning and before going to work the neighbor's door was always slamming and shaking the walls. She understands that people are active in the day and she can't ask people to cater to her night shift needs, but she felt the constant slamming of doors was not only disruptive but unusual behavior. One particular morning was the straw that broke the camel's back. She had finally had enough because of the effect it was having on her sleep. She wanted to see who was slamming the door. She heard the door slamming around 10:30 a.m. and got up and witnessed people walking to their car with suitcases and leaving. Soon after a man arrived and pulled up the front doormat and retrieved a key and let 2 women with cleaning supplies into the apartment. Each time they entered or left the door would slam and shake the wall. Seeing this she searched Airbnb and almost immediately found the rental unit next door. Same floor plans, wall paint, flooring, etc. To our surprise and anger we found a total of 4 listings in our apartment complex alone on the host's profile. That is 10% of the apartments in our buildings. Through the listings we found the individual's LinkedIn and business website. On his website he claims that he does something called retail arbitrage. Essentially this is renting out a long-term rental on short-term basis, lease an apartment and rent it on Airbnb for profit. This can be done legally with the landlord's permission. The lease agreement does not allow for subletting or short-term rentals. They were renting out 3 of the 4 ground-end units offered, units with unique floor plans. The 4th unit was a handicap-accessible unit. That's right. This man and his business partner leased an apartment meant for accommodating people with disabilities, with the intention of using it for his little short-term business empire he was trying to build. Our city and region, like in other places, has been feeling the squeeze on apartment availability, and these dickheads are contributing to the problem. It was at this point we took this personally as we had our own problems dealing with apartment availability, wait lists, disappointment, and frustration. IGF called the leasing office and notified them that the neighboring unit is being rented out on Airbnb and asked if that was allowed, to which the office gave an emphatic absolutely not and asked for the listings to be sent to them in an email. Later that day the office called her back and said they notified the tenant that they will be inspecting the apartments the following afternoon. After the inspection was completed the office notified that they had sent a cease and desist notice of any rental activities outside the lease agreement or face eviction. They also informed us that you should not have any more problems concerning the matter, and if you do, don't hesitate to give us a call. Now, this asshole has 4 leases he is stuck paying $1,500 a month for and can't make any more money on through Airbnb. He is bleeding money at the tune of about $6,000 a month. His only legal options are to continue paying for them or to break the leases and vacate. Last week we watched as movers emptied out the apartments. I'm sure they lost deposits and or were penalized for breaking the leases. A very expensive lesson for being greedy entrepreneur. Don't be dickheads, folks. Also, don't piss off a night shifter trying to sleep. Edit. Forgot to mention that his LinkedIn account shows he enrolled and completed courses through Thai Here in My Garage, Lopez online program haha. The leasing office rented 4 apartments to one person and they didn't think it was weird. Something stinks. That's what we thought too. He has at least another guy in on it. One of the places I think was used by another tenant before we moved in we think. Depends on location and local laws. Things like that are common here. Some tech or manufacturing company hires a handful of specialists and insert obscure skillset here and puts them up in local apartments they are leasing for just this purpose. Most complexes love them because they provide long-term leases who generally won't cause problems. Every single one of those agreements I have ever seen since Airbnb became a thing includes that you will not list this property on Airbnb or any similar site. This is for the use of your employees only clause. If that's the case here, then your GF's apartment complex has the Airbnb dumbest by the balls. Your GF is a hero. I would love to have someone like her in my neighborhood. We're eagerly awaiting the Airbnb crash over here. Hopefully we will see more of this soon. There are a lot of people doing exactly what this guy was, but Airbnb listings are way down. I think more investors are going to go down. Homes are supposed to drop like 20% as well, so it'd be nice if these people bought high and take a loss. Airbnb also has a system to report if neighbors are running Airbnbs in unauthorized places or if the neighbors are too rowdy. Good to know. Hopefully I'll not have to use it. If it hasn't been too long, you may want to go ahead and report the host that had the 4 units in your building. He may be doing the same thing in another complex. He has 5 other listings, but they look to be at a multi-family style home not too far away. I don't know the exact nature of those listings, so I'm not sure I belong getting involved in that. Robbery turns into exercise for the robber. I know that there's a post on an Ask Reddit question that sounds very similar to this. I'm shocked that 2 members of the human race could share this level of stupidity. Here's what happened. I was sitting in the parking lot of my local Walmart, waiting for a call from my friend on what he needed from the store. He's currently got some nasty food poisoning or something and has been projectile vomiting for a day or 2. My window's down a bit because it's nice outside. Out of nowhere, a guy runs up to my car, knife in hand, and shoves it into the gap between the doorframe and the window. He's flailing it like a dying fish at my neck and I freak out. I shriek like a little girl, almost piss my pants, and jab at the window button to close the window. He starts shrieking and drops the knife and tries to pull his arm out. He's not even gotten around to demanding my money. I fumble my phone and call the police. I'm pissed at this guy. Who wouldn't be? He's cursing and bashing my car and is threatening to murder me and my lineage. So I tell him to shut up. He doesn't. So I put it in drive and take my foot off the brake. He's caught off guard and starts saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" I don't answer and tap the gas. Long story short, I took him around that parking lot for about 5 minutes before the police showed up. By the time they did, he'd lost a shoe and was totally out of breath. Yes, I'm a petty little shithead. No, I didn't get the knife, they took it for evidence. Yes, my window got messed up. And yes, someone I knew heard me shriek like a little pansy. I'm not living it down. I'm just hoping that the officer was right about him not having grounds to sue me for unlawful imprisonment or something like that. 1/10, do not recommend. Attempted robbery turns into workout regimen. Edit. Update. I've been contacted by a relative of the thief who was apparently told a completely different story to what happened. They were not entitled and sounded resigned to the fact that what they had been told was a lie. Pray for them and the thief. He sounds like he needs a good knock on the head. This isn't his first rodeo. You can legally detain someone until police arrive, especially with self-defense, a lethal weapon in play, death threats, etc. You'll be fine. I mean, he didn't have the knife anymore. He was saying he was going to kill you. You could have been worried about him having another weapon. And you didn't drive to torture him, you wanted to make sure he couldn't open the door to release himself. You were in fear for your life. I know though, and this isn't legal advice. When I took concealed carry class, the police detective said those are the words you say and only those words. I was in fear of my life. I want a lawyer. Say nothing else because of adrenaline wears off and then you remember stuff, but then police can come back and say you changed your story. Adrenaline is fucking crazy. I have 2 totally different experiences. One, I saw someone attacking my neighbor, choking him on the ground, and I ran over to save him. I didn't feel any of the sharp rocks on my bare feet. I wrapped my arms around his arm and neck and ripped him off the ground. I leaned against a camper and I was now choking him to death. My father finally snapped me out of it and said he'd been screaming at me, "Let him go or you'll kill him," for 30 seconds. I had no senses except sight. After I let him go, my dad had to restrain him and the guy grabbed my dad's hands and just pulled them over his head like nothing because his meth strength was so high. Mountain Dad has 35 pounds on me and was a carpenter his whole life. My dad couldn't believe how strong I had been. He said it truly was superhuman. The other was a cooler fell out of a buddy's truck. We tried to back up a bit and after 4 cars drove by it. The 5th didn't see it or the others turning. It weaved and spun through traffic 3 times before finally hitting the ditch, and as the car was tipped on its edge, teetering, we both released our breath, then the car flipped when our breath hit it low. This was all slow-mo. I heard every tire screech and even heard the tires pop. This sounds like something that would be told on my radio station's lack of intelligence report. I'm not surprised this has happened twice. In most states the phrase reasonable physical force is the key to self-defense, with emphasis on reasonable. So if a guy swings a baseball bat at you, you're allowed to use a similar weapon to stop his attack, but once he's been stopped from attacking you, you can't escalate the level and beat his brains out. If this assailant tried to have you charged or sued you, if I'm on the jury in either case, I'd find your actions reasonable. And find him guilty of stupid. Knew I was getting fired, so I scattered 200 business cards around the office in various inconspicuous places. I was working for a staffing agency as the branch sales manager a few years back. My new boss is a complete shothead. Had no idea what he was doing, had never worked in the industry, started pitting managers against each other to determine loyalty and support. We had a small office in the back of ours that he would use from time to time. One day when I was in the office taking some lunch, I found that he was still logged into his email. Considering how much I disliked him, I snooped. I found out I was getting fired. Sucked, but I had a few irons in the fire already, so I was ready to move on. I immediately started hiding what was left of my business cards all over the office. In individual files, taped under keyboards, under desks, under chairs, taped to the back of wall decor, between sheets of copy paper. All over the place. I still have a friend who works there, and after 4 years they still find a rando card somewhere in the office at times. It's a nice reminder of how they screwed me. My boss was fired a year later for bad production. The branch is bleeding to this day. Make a new batch of cards and give them to your friend to hide around the office. With his help you can keep this going for another decade or more. Please do this. Over time, those who work there will turn over so that no one knows who Op really was. Stories will be told about the mystery of Op and his many cards. And some things that should not have been forgotten were lost. History became legend. Legend became myth. And for 2.5 decades, the Op's true identity passed out of all knowledge. Then come back as the CEO. Boom. Even better, find out where boss works now and socially engineer your way into setting the cards up there. Sounds like just the type of asshole everyone who works there would love to have a random convo about fucking with. This is the answer. Every time that manager found one, I bet he said fucking Op, haha. Love it. That's the hope. And after he left, it's my hope that I've been made into some type of folklore. Or better yet, other people have followed suit. Just brilliant. This is my new favorite. It would truly be funny, but not so much revenge, if everyone you worked with had left the agency, and now there is a completely new set of employees there who keep finding your card without knowing any of the context. I hope you become a urban legend horror story. Oh, you found Bill Smith's business card. I reckon he worked here about 20 years ago. One night the boss and Bill got into a right bad argument. The next morning, Bill was gone. Now I don't like telling takes, but the boss was arrested short while after that for having a trunk full of blood. Folks say Bill is still trying to get revenge on the company. Leaves a calling card for his next victim. You best throw that card out and buy lunch for the office to show old Bill you mean well. Excellent idea to mess with a new guy. Oh, this video has come to an end. If you want more such cool stories, then go to one of the many following videos.